It's America's one and only Jewish Moments in the Morning radio program, heard on listeners-sponsored digital radio. Around the world, the web at NachumSegal.com, on the Nachum Segal Network, and, of course, in the beloved NSN app. Well, we alluded to this with Rabbi Fast the other day. I consider this an amazing story. 7 families from the Great Neck community made Aliyah together, moved to Israel together this week. They moved from Great Neck to Ra'anana. They decided to make the move and to stick together as a group, as a community. And with us live via telephone from Israel is Jordan Karmily. Jordan Karmily is one of the folks with his wife Joyce and their 6 daughters who moved from Great Neck to Israel, to Ra'anana, and they all landed in Israel. I believe it was yesterday. We'll find out now. Jordan Karmily, a pleasure to wish you a Mazal Tov, Mabruk, and welcome to JM in the AM.
Thank you, Nachum. Shalom Aleichem.
Has that been the reaction? Are people wishing you Mazal Tov? Are they understanding the enormity of how positive and incredible move this was this week?
Overwhelmingly, yes. I wouldn't say it's across the board, but by far, it's been very, very positive. More than we could have ever imagined. And
we were discussing this earlier in the week, and I've mentioned it God knows how many times over the last many years. As much as many of us want to move ourselves and our families to Israel, and everyone understands the importance and reasons why, I've always felt that those who've been able to do it with a group, with a small community, neighborhood, tight-knit families, that's always something extra special. How did this begin? I know you just landed in Israel yesterday, and we'll get to all that in terms of what's happening now. But how did this all start, that yours and other families decided to undertake this together?
Good question. So without belaboring it, I think it's obviously, like I think the majority of the Jewish world, for years and years, it's always been a dream. It's always something we've spoken about, on and off, sometimes more seriously, sometimes less. So you kind of never know how to take a first step. It seems like it's too tall a mountain to climb. We would talk with friends, maybe if we can do it together. We don't have to sacrifice on the community aspect of moving. Maybe if we go as a group. And it's kind of like everybody points to each other. Well, if, these families can go, then I'll go. And if those families, you ask them, they'll point to them. And everyone's kind of pointing at each other, but I was never able to solve the conundrum, the issue of, well, just everyone hold hands and jump together. I would imagine a big help for us was an organization called Yisraela, which in conjunction with Nefesh B'Nefesh, which everybody knows and does an unbelievable job in making Aliyah possible and making a transition easy. But Yisraela is an organization which facilitates groups moving to Israel. And if you don't have a community or a group, as many don't, they help manufacture groups based on your family size, your hashkafa, your age of your kids, etc. They kind of will piecemeal together a group of families from different places that have similar backgrounds and build some camaraderie, bring you on a pilot trip to Israel, and help set you up, help you navigate looking at schools, looking at communities.
Wow. Interesting.
In our particular case, we all knew each other. So we approached the organization, and they brought us on a pilot trip. They like I said, it went from the realm of conversation to we actually saw what living here could actually look like. And that pilot trip was pretty big.
How long ago was the actual decision made? In other words, yours and the other 6 families, what month of what year was it obvious and decided that you're actually going to make the move?
Good question. I think we went on that pilot in May of last year. So that was about 16 months ago.
Right.
We met afterwards, and we kind of all synced up our timelines. Some people wanted the extra year. Generally the suggestion is 6 to 8 months in advance.
Right.
Is as soon as you can do it. There is quite a little bit of paperwork. We made the decision a year in advance. It was a long year. Consider it like a long engagement process, almost too long.
And I guess there's a big benefit for that year because essentially you're giving yourselves a school year, right? You decide in May or make the final decision, and you're basically giving yourselves a school year to make the adjustment and to get everything in order.
Correct. So summertime is when most people do transition. They make the move, mainly for kids' considerations. Without little kids in school, in theory, you could do it at any time. But a lot of the apartment and home turnover in Israel, and a lot of the moving pieces take place in the summer months.
Yeah, I get it. Jordan Karmily is with us live via telephone. He, his wife, and 6 daughters are among 7 families that moved to Israel on Monday, landed yesterday in the Holy Land. I'm sure many are curious about the logistics. When you form a group like this and you do want to stay together, is it possible to get housing very, very close together for 7 families? Like, how does that work out?
It's a very good question. So this organization, Yisraela, they took care of all that for us. I'll one-up your question because I think it's a good question. Also, we have kids in schools.
Right.
7 families. Everyone has, call it 4 or 5, whatever kids. You're talking about you need school space for 30, 40 children that you ideally want them to be together. You need a shul. You need 30 or 40 empty seats in the shul.
Right.
So they do all this for you. They do the legwork. They research the schools, the kihilot, the different batei knesset, and they help you with the housing. They help locate within walking distance of each other good, adequate housing. Some people want apartments. Some people want homes. A little bit higher budgets, lower budgets. So they really hold your hand and walk you through the process. It almost made everything like too much of a red carpet for us to not take this chance and not do this.
How close are you guys? And I mean that in a physical sense. When it comes to the reality of your new geography in Ra'anana, what's the furthest that one family among the 7 is from another?
The furthest is 15-minute walk.
Nice.
So we picked one neighborhood in the town, and the furthest walk would be from one end to the other, 15 minutes.
Pretty amazing, I'll tell you, just incredible. Now, what was yesterday like? I mean, we've had the privilege, thank God, of being on Aliyah flights, unfortunately until this time as observers. Hopefully that'll change soon. But what was it like? What was it like getting on the flight? I assume you said goodbye to quite a number of people here. It's 7 families. I'm sure you have a lot of friends and those you quote-unquote left behind. What was the flight like? And then, of course, what was it like touching down and realizing that this has finally become a reality?
So, definitely surreal. You reminded me of your wedding day. There's so much going on. It's hard to process everything. It's almost like an overstimulation, and you feel like you're dreaming. You feel like you're floating. You're not. It's just things are happening to you in real time, and you're having a hard time processing. It was a lot. It was a lot of lack of sleep. It was a lot of goodbyes, a lot of emotional goodbyes, positive emotions. Some people had anxious emotions, but overall, it was. Didn't think that I could go that long with such a elevated state of like happiness and just exhilaration. It was a long time coming.
And touching down in Tel Aviv,
it's hard to not get emotional because you realize this was a dream for millions of Jews over the years that they couldn't do. Famously, we feel like Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have the chance. And we're given a privilege.
That's right.
A privilege, really the right word. It's a privilege to be here, and we feel like it's almost wrong to turn down that privilege. And when you feel like you're activating it and actualizing it, it's emotional for sure.
When your story was introduced to us by text, the person who did so used the following expression or description. They wrote about you: his decision is deeply ideological, rooted in his belief that, quote, the galut is over. Would that be an accurate portrayal?
That sounds as accurate. I don't think you could have phrased it any better.
So you are convinced, and I'm not in any way making fun. I'm just trying to reiterate for you to continue to keep this message going. You are convinced that the galut, meaning comfortable life outside of Israel, is coming to an end.
So I'll parse those two things you said. I don't think comfortable life is necessarily over outside. I don't think the end of the galut means that you can't live outside the land. Look, there's many affluent communities, many affluent communities, of which we are from one. And Great Neck is, we didn't lack anything. So with all the anti-Semitism and all the, the Mamdanis and all this stuff, no one was pushing us out. I could have lived I'm 42. I could have lived a long life in Great Neck. I would have shielded myself and my family from a lot of the issues out there. But I definitely feel like the galut, I know it's over because, we've been praying for all these years, all these centuries. We've been praying, to end the galut, to bring us back into our land. And we have our land. And war after war, we keep winning. We keep expanding our territory. There are more Jews. We're right at the cusp. There are more Jews living in Eretz Yisrael today than outside, which is something that couldn't have been said even in the whole Beit Sheni period.
Right.
In absolute numbers, there are more Jews living in Israel than ever before. There are more yeshivot, more Torah being learned in Israel than ever before. There's institutional kashrut. This is the manifestation of our dreams. I don't think we all realize it, or we don't want to admit it because we are comfortable outside. That's the truth.
Jordan Karmily is with us live from Israel, courtesy of our friends at Nefesh B'Nefesh. Do you mind if I ask you what high school you went to? I'm just curious.
Of course. I went to Hafter High School in the South Shore, Long Island. And yeah, I loved my education growing up.
And you are, obviously, your wife, Joyce, as we said, is with you, and 6 daughters. We often quote the commentary that observes in Sefer Bamidbar and Parsha Shlach that women in our community have a special love for the Holy Land, beyond the love that we as men have. And we've quoted that many times and have analyzed it. You are surrounded by women, Baruch Hashem. Are you getting the feeling that, in fact, they have a deep love for the Holy Land?
So I don't want to cry on the air, but my wife, thank God, but she happens to not be sitting next to me at the moment. She can't hear. I'll be very honest. So we spoke to many people who moved. We spoke to people who moved back to the States. I spoke to children, teenagers, little kids, fresh olim, 5 years in, 10 years in. We tried to really do our due diligence and research. I have found predominantly in my anecdotal conversation that if a woman wants to move, if a woman feels that desire, she can, I don't want to say make her husband, but she can convince her husband with that feminine touch to make the move.
Right.
It's much, much harder. I've met very few men who can compel their women, to their wives,
right,
to make the move. So I really feel, and this is not lip service, but I really feel when Chazal tell us, bischut nashim tzadkaniot nigalu b'nei Yisrael miMitzrayim, I really feel like this. It starts with the women in our lives. If my wife did not want to move, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Amazing.
Having said that, I will just say that I find men usually, and again, I'm going to be a little bit real about it. Men usually are the ones that are going to have to take the action, because women in general, not just in our community, but I think in general, are a little bit more creatures of comfort,
right.
And it might be harder to make some of those bold decisions and bold macro family moves, which is where the man really would need to, step up. But it begins with women, with the wives, supporting and facilitating a husband to make a difficult and big move.
Yeah, I mean, I may put it differently, that they react in a more conservative manner when it comes to decisions like this. But yeah, there's a balance, and there's no doubt that the two of you together, and in general, the husbands and wives out there who are making these decisions together, each brings a unique blend, a unique ingredient to the entire process, and that's what allows the family to do this and to do it with great enthusiasm. And finally, Jordan Karmily, if one family moving to Israel, and we've featured so many stories over the years of families that have, can have an effect and even a ripple effect in their own communities that they leave behind and get a lot of people thinking about going. What could 7 families do? I mean, this has had to have made a massive impression on the Great Neck community that 7 families with the tens and tens of people, as you described, moved at the same time. Am I right?
I think you're right, and I think time will tell how correct you are. We do already have 2 new families that, Bezrat Hashem, in the coming weeks and months have already committed to move there at the end of their processes. And there's already another pilot trip planned for this year for another batch of families to come and start their process.
Wow.
So Bezrat Hashem, I'm very confident that with just a little bit of time, this will be a much, much larger movement. And it's very encouraging for us.
You got to tell these Israeli people they may have to establish your own community with all the people who are going to be coming from Great Neck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll say this.
Is there
yeah. No, I was going to say, so Yisrael facilitates so much with, like I said, with schools and with shuls and the community aspect. And of course, Nefesh B'Nefesh, it's impossible to navigate all the paperwork and the bureaucracy without them. They have been absolutely indispensable in the process. It's almost like people are holding your hand. If there's any intimidation with Aliyah, you should know that you have multiple organizations that do go above and beyond anything you can imagine. And, from our perspective, leaving the community and leaving friends and family is such a challenge. It's one of the main obstacles, aside from Parnassah, it's the main obstacle for us. So if we can remove that obstacle and move as a group, and now that we are a set group, anyone can just latch on and know that they have family and friends here. So hopefully we're removing the impediments to Aliyah for everyone.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Are all your daughters registered in school?
They are all. The baby is still at home, the 2-year-old, but we have high school girls, we have middle school girls. They are, thank God, they're open-minded, they're fantastic, they're positive. We're trying to make it as fun as possible for them, which is not hard. Eretz Yisrael has so much to offer, so much to offer. And I feel like the one piece of advice, or not advice, but the one comment that I got over and over and over again, by far the number one comment I received in the hundreds of conversations I had with Israelis and Olim is, this is the best decision you're going to make for your children.
Wow.
No one wouldn't say those words. And I genuinely, I see it. The proof is in the pudding. You speak to the Israeli kids, they have a healthy amount of confidence, of independence. They're not, they're mature at ages that I would say some of the Americans might not get there. And they learn to live with a little bit of less and a little bit of the excess, which I think we can all agree is a healthy thing. So, this is a lot of the factor for us is not just that the galut is over, but this is the best place, I think, to raise children.
What an inspiration you are, Jordan. Mazal Tov. Please send our best wishes to Joyce and your daughters. Wish them a Mazal Tov as well. And this has been an absolutely incredible conversation. I'm hoping that just like your community is being affected by this amazing group and what you've done this week, I'm hoping that this audience, in fact, will also be inspired to certainly think about and hopefully eventually actually move to Israel. Kol hakavod to you, and thank you.
Thank you, Nachum. Thank you for the time.
A pleasure. More coming up. You're listening to a Wednesday morning edition of JM in the AM.